Today's video was originally supposed to be about Arrow, Sean Kirkpatrick, Luis Elizondo's message to Congress, David Grush potentially working for Congress. But after I'd already recorded the video, late last night, I decided to jump into a Twitter space, X, if you will. And during that Twitter space panel discussion, quite a few bombshells were dropped that I pretty much needed to cover today. Now, we will get to the Arrow topic tomorrow. So no problems there. We will get to it, but I promise you, you're going to want to hear this. So who was this panel discussion? Shout out to Skyfire News. They're the ones that made all this happen. So regardless how you feel about them, they're making things happen. And they do have an area for people to go, and they do have great discussions there. So, and I was honored to be a part of the one last night, to be honest with you. So let's dive in and just go over these things. I've got 3 different clips from the space. Now, there were many more things that went on, but these are the 3 I'm going to focus on. All right? So anyway, if you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Put our new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And of course, hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there, Vetters. Oh, and I cannot wait to read the comments on this one. Let's jump in. All right. First thing we're going to do right here. See, you got Skyfire. Again, they hosted this panel. They brought me in. I don't know why it says listener. I'm not a listener. I'm a speaker. I guess I was listening to. I don't know. It's my account, maybe. That's why it says that. Anyway, who we're going to hear from is right here, this guy, Michael Mazzola. Now, Michael Mazzola is a film director, and he helped direct 2 of Stephen Greer's documentaries. And he's also doing an upcoming documentary about these Peruvian mummies, right? The Nazca mummies, that whole thing, right? Jaime Maussan. There's going to be a press conference in Los Angeles sometime here in the next week. I think March 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So he was in the panel, and he talked about that, amongst other things. Okay, so honestly, I got to say, the guy was really nice, very respectful. I asked him a few questions. A lot of people did. And he was just there to talk. Everybody was there to talk. So, yes. Let's just hear from him about okay. Just want to make sure I do this the right way. You know what? Let me start here. So, has everyone heard of this? You guys heard of this? These mummies? Atacama region of Chile. Atacama, right? These are mummified specimen right here. Came out in the early 2000s, right? This article's from 2018, okay? But this came out, okay? Right here, you can see. Now, just for, reference here, that's how small it is, right? You can see the hands. That's how small this thing is, right? Well, Michael Mazzola drops a bomb about Garry Nolan concerning these mummies, because Garry Nolan has come out against these mummies, right? There's nothing there. Fake. It's a hoax. At least that's what we thought. Now listen to what Michael says about an interaction he had with Garry Nolan before, back in 2013. So you're going to hear this gentleman right here, Tupacabra, talk a little bit. Then it's going to go to me. I'm going to jump in with a question to Michael, and you'll see what I mean. All right, let's just do this.
Something else is going on. They don't know what that is. No one's making any judgments, but something's happening. And when you look at the skeleton and the idea that there was just a bunch of random mutations and it just still lived to be however old they suspected it to be, I don't know, man. It's strange. It's strange. And Michael, I think this is kind of like breaking news here, because he really underplayed that in the press. Is that for PR?
Can I ask a quick question? I'm so sorry. I don't mean to jump in, but if I'm confused, I guarantee you the people listening are confused as well. So I just want to get some real clarification, because I do what Tupa's saying about this is breaking news. So what is the breaking news exactly, as I understand? Let me steelman this, Michael, if you can just clarify. You're
Sure.
saying you had one conversation with Dr. Garry Nolan, and in that one single conversation that you've had with him, he admitted to you that this potential body that y'all are talking about, the small little being, I've seen that before, that it was created potentially by an alien. Just to quote you earlier, you said alien, not alien race or alien intelligence, just an alien.
Yeah,
I just want to clarify. Is that what we're saying?
I remember it like it was yesterday. This was in
Here we go,
2000. This
y'all.
was in May of 2013. It was at the premiere of Sirius, which was Greer's first documentary. I didn't make it. I had donated to it, so I got to go to the premiere. And in the movie Sirius, Garry Nolan, he kind of gives his analysis. He's very kind of conservative about it. He says, there's a lot of anomalies, and in the film, he says something to the effect of, I want to say more, but I don't want to invite ridicule on my institution, meaning Stanford University. So I went up to him at the after party at the Hotel Figueroa, and I said, Dr. Nolan, nice to meet you. I said, what did you want to say that, you didn't want to say on camera? And I didn't expect to get any kind of like cool answer from him, but he just said, this thing is not human, but it was made from human DNA. And I said, made by what? And he said, I think an alien. And then he walked away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael, for clarifying that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure everyone listening thanks you as well. So yeah, just for clarifying that. Thank you so much.
Bam. Right now it continues because there's some more follow-up questions. So let's go. Let's listen a little more.
Cool. Let's get to Ralph because he's been very patient. Ralph, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Michael, for being here. Darcy, thank you for even being here too. I do kind of wish the vibes were a little better for Michael's first time being around here. But Ralph, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is just my theory, because I like Darcy, and Darcy's, in my opinion, underrated and underappreciated. But here's what I'm going to speculate, Darcy. So hear me out. I think when people like you, and possibly maybe Michael, maybe he has or hasn't experienced this, but people that are kind of making films about this sort of stuff, it's possible that you were somewhat
Let's move past that. There's going to be more on that guy speaking later on. I got another video about him to make. Neither here nor there. We'll get to that. Yes, it involves Rick Doty. That'll be a separate video. Hang on.
was real. He was tracked, and now he's. So Darcy, you could be.
Not know what
You did
No,
say
he
that
says
that was
he-
the only. Well, I'm just saying. You said you don't.
That showed you that fake shit, convinced. The other thing is that and some things of that nature, and a huge amount of funding. So he's an honest man. He's going to tell.
done anything wrong that I know of. I'm just saying I do not know why he did a 180 on the Atacama humanoid. And so I have to be cautious. That's all I'm saying.
Timing.
Michael,
Timing.
real quick, do you think Garry could have been just like joking with you or said that in jest? I mean, you did
No,
say
he was
that
dead
that was the
serious.
only. Well, I'm just saying. You said you don't know him. You said that's the first time you spoke with him and the only time you spoke with him. So to be fair, that could be a possibility, right?
Yes, but he then did go to the Society for Scientific Exploration conference in 2013 in San Francisco, and he gave a full, 60-minute or 90-minute presentation on all the research that had been done up to that point on the Atacama humanoid. He didn't say he thinks it was extraterrestrial related because, he's talking to a room full of scientists. Not that I recall, right? But he did say that the chances of all of these this just being a bunch of mutations simultaneously occurring in the same specimen was extremely unlikely.
So there's more about that conversation, but there you go. So Garry Nolan, about this again. Let's look at it again, right? This being right here privately tells this gentleman that thinks it was made by an alien. Not that this is alien, but that it was made by an alien, right? So privately, but publicly saying something different, and publicly to this day not saying anything like that this is alien, right? So that was the big news in that thing. Everyone was like freaking out, like, what? Garry said that? No way. Because there was a lot of discussion about these Nazca mummies and all this coming up because, again, this gentleman, Michael Mazzola, is doing a documentary on that for Stephen Greer, right, about these mummies. So once we got into that, they started bringing this up right here. And to be fair, credit to Darcy Ware right here, who got this whole thing started and got the conversation started with Michael to get that going. So, that story came out. So, credit to him. I'm actually interviewing him on Monday. So maybe be able to even talk a little bit more about that. All right. Next clip here. Let's just listen and I'll go with it. All right, let's see here.
Do you think there'll ever be a day where Greer and Elizondo sit and have a casual, respectful, but maybe disagreeing debate about this stuff? Or they're ever in the same room? Because those two camps have been so Lou called him a terrorist, basically. Greer's called him a disinfo agent. Would you kind of think about that, Michael?
It will never happen, unfortunately. That well is so poisoned on both sides. It's beyond repair, but I don't think it's necessary. I think that this field has enough momentum, enough people doing good work in it that those two coming together is not going to be it's not going to stop us from getting anything done.
So let's be real. I've talked about that on this channel before. I even made a video about it, right? About Dr. Stephen Greer calling out Lou Elizondo and Danny Sheehan's position in there, right? How that was interesting. And I found this interesting, right? That's never going to happen, y'all. According to this gentleman who works with, Dr. Stephen Greer, right? The Greer camp and the Lou Elizondo camp are never going to come together. But that he's thinking it's not even necessary. It's not important. It doesn't matter. So I don't know. Find that quite fascinating. Now, another story that I don't have lined up here, but screw it. I was going to leave some nuggets for y'all. If y'all went and listened to this, you'd hear other stuff. I didn't want to give it all. Because credit to Skyfire. I recommend listening to this thing. It was a great conversation. I do have to admit, there was a lot of stuff dropped in there. So one other thing that they said, that he said, was that, he said he's good friends with Danny Sheehan. And that, right, Danny Sheehan was in a documentary of Stephen Greer's calling out to the Stars Academy and, all of this stuff, right? And how it's set up for disinformation, all of this stuff. I mean, Michael Mazzola even calls that Jem Semivan, that sort of thing, right? He's a liar. I think it was Michael Mazzola. Holy cow. If I got that right, I'm pretty sure it was him. If not, I apologize. Anyway, he basically says after that happened, Lou left to the Stars because of that, right? And Danny went to work for Lou, right? That's when Lou got Danny as his lawyer, was after this interview. So initially, Danny was critical of Lou Elizondo to the Stars and all of that. And yeah, after that, supposedly that's why he leaves to the Stars and, Danny Sheehan becomes his lawyer. But again, why couldn't the camps meet if Lou Elizondo thought, oh, they're right? There's clearly something there, right? I mean, Greer making statements about Lou and Lou making statements about Greer, and it's never going to happen, potentially. Now, it could. Let's be real. It could. I don't know why the beings can't bring them together, right? The phenomena, essentially, I guess it could. But, I just found that interesting. And maybe they're right. Maybe it's not necessary. Just have two different camps doing their own thing, right? Two different filmmakers making their own movie. No problem. But I did find that interesting because I've always wondered that. Never seen them in the same room. I've wondered that about a lot of people. Why do we never see these guys together? Well, it's probably just some drama behind the scenes. All right, this next clip is something I found quite fascinating as well. Now, there was a story going around. You know what? I'm going to play this clip first. All right, so a little Patrick and Patrick here. This is a clip I'm going to share about Eric Weinstein. I put a link in the description. Apparently, Eric Weinstein joined the Twitter space we were in last night as a listener for a minute. Right, he was in there for a bit, and they brought him up at the end. And Michael Mazzola tells a story in there, which, again, I'm going to let y'all listen to here in just a second. And I ask a question at the end because as he's telling that story, it jogs something in my mind, right? And just to give y'all some context, remember Eric Weinstein and Sam Harris both admitted in separate interviews that they had been approached by people, right? You know, sort of secretly, like, hey, we'll present some facts and stuff to you and get you aware, right? And so you know what's going on, right? You have all the information. So, you know, whatever it may be, we're going to fly you out, right? We're going to do some Zoom meetings. We're going to do some stuff. And it all fell apart. It never happened. So let's listen to Sam Harris talk about that specifically.
In raising a question that I'm going to be talking to you, a lot of people brought up this topic, probably because Eric Weinstein talked to Joe Rogan recently and said that he and you were contacted by folks about UFOs. Can you clarify the nature of this contact? Can you, that you were contacted about?
I've got very little.
Sorry, I just realized I was like nodding to say, see, guys, that's just natural. I'm just who I am. Wow, that's hilarious.
To say on this. I mean, he has much more to say. I think he went down this rabbit hole further than I did, which wouldn't surprise anyone. He's got much more of a taste for this sort of thing than I do. But I think we're contacted by the same person. It wasn't clear to me who this person was or how this person got my cell phone number. They didn't seem. It didn't seem like we were getting punked. I mean, the person seemed credible to me.
And they were talking to you about the release of different videos on UFOs.
Yeah, and this is when there was a flurry of activity around this. So there was a big New Yorker article on UFOs, and there was rumors of congressional hearings, I think, coming, and there were the videos that were being debunked or not. And so this person contacted both of us, I think, around the same time. And I think he might have contacted Rogan or other. Eric is just the only person I've spoken to about it, I think, who I know was contacted. And what happened is the person kept, writing a check that he didn't cash. Like he kept saying, okay, next week I'm going to, I understand this is sounding spooky and, you have no reason to really trust me, but next week I'm going to put you on a Zoom call with people who you will recognize. And they're going to be, former heads of the CIA and, people who just, you're going to, within 5 seconds of being on the Zoom call, you'll know this is not a hoax. And I said, great, just let me know, just send me the Zoom link. Right. And that happened maybe 3 times, there was just one phone conversation and then it was just texts, just a bunch of texts. And I think Eric spent more time with this person, and I haven't spoken to him about it. I know he spoke about it publicly, but so I it's not that my bullshit detector ever really went off in a big way. It's just the thing never happened, and I lost interest.
So you've made a comment which is interesting.
So again, both him and Eric Weinstein. And Eric Weinstein later clarified on Chris Williamson's podcast, that he was actually approached by multiple people. And Sam Harris is like one person, right? So anyway, let's listen to this clip and see what you think, with keeping that in mind.
Everyone go follow Skyfire News for great spaces like this. Like Pavel said, there was a bunch of Skyfire News exclusives in this thing tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed, for a little bit there during the Darcy and Michael debate, Eric Weinstein was listening, so that's pretty interesting. He didn't come up, but he was listening. So.
Oh, no way.
Tupa? Yeah, he was down there.
He was.
Can I tell a funny story real quick about Eric Weinstein?
Go ahead.
So back in 2021, I spent way too much time on Clubhouse, which was Twitter Spaces before there was Twitter Spaces. And Eric Weinstein was doing a room on UAP with a bunch of Silicon Valley guys. And they were just getting it so wrong. Like they had no idea what they were talking about. So I called Danny Sheehan and I got him out of bed and I said, get on Clubhouse. We're going to red pill Eric Weinstein. Because they knew each other and spent a lot of time together, but they never had talked about UFOs. And it was driving me crazy. I'm like, Danny, why are you not red pilling him on UFOs? So we get on the Clubhouse. And Eric Weinstein sees Danny in the audience and says, "Oh, Danny Sheehan, my friend, come up on the stage. Danny, you always have the most interesting, things to say. Do you know anything about this subject matter?" And Danny's like, "Oh, well, as a matter of fact, Eric, I was the attorney for the Disclosure Project and the Citizens Hearing on Disclosure, and I'm the attorney for Lou Elizondo." And he's just like rattling off his resume. And Eric's like, "Holy shit!" And so he just gives Danny the mic, and Danny starts riffing, and Eric is becoming just increasingly agitated, right? And he's like, "Oh, Danny, if this is true, then it's not just a new technology. It's a new physics, and I know everybody who's anybody in the physics world. So you're telling me my own colleagues would be lying to me about this?" And Danny says, "That's right." And Eric's like, "Oh, well, next you're going to tell me that spoon bending is real." And Danny says, "Oh, well, as a matter of fact," and then proceeds to tell his spoon bending story, at which point Eric Weinstein's brain was completely broken, and he said, "I've had enough," and he put himself in the audience. So that is how Eric Weinstein got truly red pilled on UFOs. It happened on Clubhouse. So rooms like this are actually have a big impact and have a big ripple effect. And it's really cool to be there when it happens.
One last question, Michael, real quick. Great story, by the way. That was really funny. Great story. One last question. You know how Sam Harris and Eric Weinstein have claimed that they were contacted by people and were going to be shown stuff, and then whatever. They never revealed who it was. Were you involved with that, or Dr. Stephen Greer? Were they, or Danny Sheehan? Do you know if that's?
It wasn't Greer. Danny might have been involved. He would probably know, but he hasn't shared with me. So I don't know. Sorry.
Appreciate that. No. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Again, great story.
Yeah.
I don't know if Michael was appreciating my questions throughout. Felt like it was. I don't know. Again, much respect to Michael for jumping in there and taking questions. And to be honest, it got a little heated there for a moment, like earlier on. Nothing I was involved in, but he handled it well. And yeah. So, one, just real quick, I say that to say this, okay? I don't know how could Michael know that Stephen Greer wasn't involved? Right? Let's be real. How could he know that? Does he know all of Stephen Greer's movements, or have they talked about it? Right? They must have talked about it and Stephen Greer's denied it or something. Because how would Michael know? How would he know that? If he did or he didn't. Not that it was a trick question I asked, but about him he could answer, right? About Danny Sheehan, right? And Stephen Greer. And I guess, but for him to say just flat out no about Stephen Greer, that's interesting, right? Because again, how could he know that? Maybe he just thinks that. And then Danny Sheehan, could he have been involved? Sounds like something he would do, right? So I don't know, y'all. Y'all can infer whatever you want from that, but I think that's interesting because I've always wondered who those people were that reached out to Sam Harris and Eric Weinstein. And if some of y'all that are listening or watching know the story, then you potentially as well were just as curious as I am, right? Because who's trying to go behind the scenes to, whatever pill they said. I don't know if he said red pill or black pill or whatever the term is for UFOs, right? So I thought, well, if they're willing to do that, then maybe they had tried this in emails and stuff, right? Like later on or whatever. So I don't know. Just saying, just find that interesting to basically convince him, right? That's what that is. Like, this phenomena is real. Convince you. I don't like trying to convince anybody of anything. Just present it and let people decide on their own. Because I think if you get into the mindset of trying to convince, you're going to omit certain things you're saying and focus on other things you're saying because you're trying to get to that goal of convincing, right? So, not that there's anything dubious or malicious with that, with what Michael said. Again, Michael was super respectful, man. I got to admit, I look forward to more spaces with him. All these people, everyone was great. It started a great conversation. Everyone spoke really well. This gentleman right here, I don't know. Again, going to be making a video about Rick Doty. This is the guy that told me, hey, let's get you, would you be willing to do an interview with Rick Doty? Right? I'll set that. I'll see what I can do. I can set that up. I've got all the files of Rick Doty. So this guy blew me up in messages, and I'm going to share them. And it was interesting, to say the least. So I'm going to make another video on Rick Doty because there's even more stuff behind the scenes involving some vetters, in fact. People that got messages about me. So anyway, we're going to dive into all that next week. It's going to be a few days before I get to that video. But yeah, should be interesting. All right. Because, yeah, there was some confusion, right, about that. Anyway, I don't know what y'all think. Right? There's a lot of stuff there about Garry Nolan, Lou Greer camps together. Lou Elizondo leaving TTSA and picking up Danny Sheehan, right? Michael's claiming it's because of that documentary where Danny Sheehan goes off on TTSA. And I believe Dr. Stephen Greer does too in there. And then, of course, this Eric Weinstein thing, right? So, look, I'll leave it there. What I recommend is y'all to check out Skyfire. These spaces for sure. They're great to listen to. You can have good conversations, and you just hear a lot of nuts and bolts. You hear a lot of stuff that falls into cracks, essentially. And some of that stuff is very important to help you piece together what exactly is going on. Because there's two parts to this. There's the phenomena, and then there's the people that talk about the phenomena. And to some extent, they're just as important as the phenomena because you're learning about the phenomena through them, right? They're the filter, a lot of them. Now, granted, you may have your own personal experience, but doesn't mean you have the whole picture, right? So it is important to focus on what these people say and how they say it and that sort of thing. Not necessarily their personal lives. I don't really care about that, right? I just care about the claims they make and how they know certain stuff, right? That sort of thing. So anyway, just find this all fascinating, if you ask me. So be curious what the comments are going to read. Patrick, what a waste of time. Why'd you do this? These are not bombshells. I don't know. I thought they were. So maybe I'm wrong. Again, tomorrow we are going to get into all the Arrow stuff. And to be fair, they talked about some of the Arrow stuff in here too. It's been good, honestly, to let this breathe a little bit with the Arrow because there's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm actually, in a way, glad I waited because tomorrow's video will include more of the overall reaction to everything that's happening, right? And some of the misinformation that's getting spread out there by some of the same people that do it. Okay? It's just crazy. It blows my mind, to be honest with you. Anyway, all right, guys, we'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, we're going over Arrow, Sean Kirkpatrick's op-ed, the historical report, right? The rejection of media going in. Ross Coulthart has unveiled like the secret panel at Arrow that was actually making the decisions here. So just crazy. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. So again, kind of glad I waited. So tomorrow's video, we are going to focus on that. If there's a particular part of the Arrowverse, right, content that's happening that you think I should cover, please tell me in the comments. But I'm going to try to get it all. It's going to be a long video tomorrow. So anyway, look forward to seeing you guys then. All right, y'all. Remember, every day is a gift. We'll see you on tomorrow's video. Enjoy your weekend today, Saturday. Please get out there. Enjoy the day. It's okay to think of other stuff and do other stuff besides UFOs, right? And aliens. So anyway, thank y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. Every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.